And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you and welcome to our customer meeting. We are going to hear first from Pat Hoffman.
Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon, everyone. And I will as well would like to express my appreciation and thank you for participating in this customer meeting today. I really would like to express my appreciation to really support the activities that you all are doing in partnership with WAPA, but also really want to express my gratitude and appreciation on behalf of the Department of Energy for the newest administrator for WAPA, which is the CEO, Tracey LeBeau. Most of you are aware that I have worked with Tracey for many years now in various leadership capacities at the Department of Energy and at WAPA. Tracey is well prepared, passionate, and dedicated, and I really believe that she is best positioned to meet your needs, to continue the dialogue and discussion as we deal with a dynamic environment that's facing us all today. And Tracey is well positioned to really provide that support that's necessary for WAPA to continue to move forward. We do recognize that this is a pivotal time for public power, requiring contemporary solutions, adaptive decisions, but proactive engagement and dialogue. And I truly believe that there is no one better positioned as a trustworthy person to really lead WAPA forward, to really think about the future for WAPA as an organization, as a power marketing administration, to take a hard look at some of the options that are available for the organizations, to investigate thoroughly the path moving forward, but also to make decisions and chart that course that will be beneficial to both the customers of WAPA and WAPA itself as an organization. As you all are aware, WAPA's 15-state footprint is blanketed by a historic drought, extreme temperatures, and of course the perpetual wildfire season. There is a lot of challenges that are facing us moving forward, but managing these conditions requires the ability to respond right now with some of the decisions that have to be made, and then taking a hard look at how we're going to move forward on behalf of the 40 million Americans that WAPA serves and expects reliable and affordable electricity. And so with Tracey, I just really want to express, number one, my gratification that she accepted the CEO position, and to recognize that you have a dedicated, talented partner with the department, as well as with WAPA, to map out some of the decisions moving forward, but some of the next steps, and how we can work together for the years ahead. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and thank you, Tracey, and turn it back over to you, Melissa or Tracey, for whoever's next.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Melissa, you hear me okay? Great.
Yep, I can hear you great.
Excellent. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for joining us today. We understand just how hectic your schedules are these days, so thank you. And a special thank you to Pat for joining and introducing me today. Pat, I look forward to building on our already strong relationship with WAPA and the department, and to continue to do our best to partner and leverage and align to do what we can do to support priorities, needs, and interests of WAPA and our customers. I really value that partnership and support, so thank you for that. So first and foremost, before I dive into sharing our organizational outlook today, I wanted to really express my sincere gratitude to all the well wishes that I've received from so many of you and so many of the customers and colleagues. It meant a lot. It is really an honor and a privilege to be WAPA's new administrator. I'm excited to embark on this new chapter of WAPA's history, building on all the success that we have created together over almost 45 years. My hope is that in the next hour, we'll gain a sense of our current priorities, which are really shared priorities. I and the organization did not come to these in any kind of vacuum, but rather out of our daily interactions, your feedback, and our collaboration with all of you, our customers. In fact, the story of public and community-owned power embodies the American dream: collaboration, innovation, perseverance, and service to our communities. Together with you, we have supported America and the communities that we serve with affordable, reliable, and clean power and transmission services long before clean energy was cool. It is easy to remember the good times when we are so far removed from those events as we are from 1977 and earlier than that, but it's critical we remember that our predecessors faced and overcame obstacles and challenges to bring us to where we're at today. A valuable and relevant partnership, influential in the West's energy affairs, and crucial to the interconnected grid within our territory and beyond. It is my goal, and I hope yours as well, to build on this historic legacy, solving not just the issues of today, but identifying and pursuing those activities that will optimally stage both WAPA and customers for a stable and reliable future. In 40 years from now, it's my wish that our successors will reminisce about the good old days and remember how we overcame our own challenges together so that we can continue to benefit from federal hydropower and the reliable energy delivery in whatever form the energy industry takes. We here at WAPA are going through some organizational transition, but the transitions we are facing are far bigger than that. We seem to be surrounded by them right now, from infrastructure proposals to shifting and entirely new markets to weather, to a new era of how we show up in the workplace. To congressional administration leadership changes, we're in the midst of incredible shift. Incidentally, I do not see that as bad news, so this isn't one of those bad news, good news comments. I've always believed that in the notion that where there is a little chaos, there is often opportunity if you look for it. So when deregulated gas and electric markets came to age, and I might be dating myself a little bit, but I was graduating from law school. I got the front row seat to this great upheaval in our energy business world, but there were great opportunities for those who were enterprising, who managed risk responsibly, and who were prepared to pivot and did it. So while it may feel chaotic in the short term, it has been the case, and there will be opportunity in the long term if we can control what we can control. And so I believe we're at a turning point and turning the page to a new era of great opportunity, but also great challenge. So here's another reason I'm confident in our future. Since my first days as interim administrator, I continue to be inspired by the dedication and determination of WAPA employees that they show every single day. They are passionate about our mission. They're proud to play an important role in providing the West with affordable and reliable electricity. I also got a front row seat to watch that steady resolve during the beginning of this pandemic. The focus, the steadfastness of our field and 24/7 and facilities personnel were and continue to be inspiring. They embody our core values, and they have stayed focused on our mission and customers amid a storm of challenges over the last year and a half, modeling our resilience by staying connected with each other, connected with customers, and with the communities we all serve. So I'm confident that your leaders and our folks we all share a determined focus as the employees do here at WAPA. And given that, I am very optimistic that we will overcome any kind of challenges set before us. One of those challenges is, I do want to take a minute here to say, to make note that we lost one of those remarkable people just recently, Bob Lynch, leader of the irrigation and electrical districts here in Arizona. I'm in Phoenix today. He passed away a few weeks ago. Bob was a tireless protector of public power in Arizona and a staunch supporter of WAPA, never afraid to question our decisions or stand up for what he thought was right. He served the interests of Arizona's irrigation and electrical districts to the best of his ability every day and until his last day. We're going to miss Bob's significant industry experience and influence. It was not unusual to see us on opposite sides of an issue, but he was always at the table, always engaged, challenging us to do better. If he was here today, I know he would have had at least one question, or maybe 2 or 5, which he would then have sent an email and a mailed letter. Given my law training, I particularly appreciated his work and his institutional legal knowledge around water and around power. He was tough, but he was always incredibly gracious to me personally. And we wish his family and his friends peace during this difficult time. And I thank you, and thank you to Bob for all of his service to Arizona, to the industry as a whole, and to our mission. On a happy news front, yesterday I received a letter from AIDA announcing selection of Ed Garrett to the role as Executive Director. Ed is no stranger to WAPA either. My colleagues and I have worked extensively with him throughout the years on many issues and in many various roles, and we really look forward to our continued partnership with Ed and AIDA. So a little bit about me. I've had an opportunity to meet with several customer groups as interim, but certainly not everybody. Through the DSW, customers are familiar with my background, probably more so than some others. I wanted to take a little bit of time this afternoon to talk a little bit about myself. I'm a native South Dakotan, born in Vermillion, South Dakota. Both of my parents and their families were from around the Gettysburg area, close to the Missouri River. I still have what sometimes feels like hundreds of cousins all over the Dakotas. My mother's maiden name was Swiftburg, which is still a small community along the river. All this to say, I have pretty serious roots in the areas which the Army Corps and now WAPA has a historical impact and interests. And so what we do in the broader sense impacts the communities I still regard as home. Throughout my life, I've lived a lot of places, but I've lived a better part of my life in the WAPA footprint. So our mission and our path that we walk together with the customers and the communities that we serve is meaningful to me on multiple levels. That is something I thought might be helpful to share with all of you like you. I get the impact we have and can have on the communities that we serve. I have more than 20 years experience in the private sector and federal executive management. I've owned my own businesses. I've helped start up a number of energy businesses. My happy place for many years was in energy development. But more recently, my subject matter expertise and my passion is around public-private partnerships, business and organizational reorganizations, utility business operations, and energy finance. Just prior to joining the Department of Energy in Washington, D.C. in 2011, I was a principal at Denton's, a large international law firm, and founding co-chair of its renewable energy practice, which now has well over 200 attorneys in dozens of countries across the world. I was an appointee at the department, as Pat mentioned, under the Obama administration, which was my first experience in public service. I joined WAPA in 2014, first as a transmission infrastructure program manager, then I stepped in as WAPA's chief administrative officer a few years ago. And most recently, I was a senior vice president and Desert Southwest regional manager, where I had a ton of fun. So let's transition and talk a little bit about WAPA's current situation and our preparations for the future. So today we have a few headwinds. Some of them have already gained strength, and some we can just see coming around the edge of our vision. In the face of headwinds, I believe it's vital we stay connected and keep our eyes on the horizon. When we are connected, our foundation is strong. So did you know that buffaloes face into and walk towards the winds and storm fronts? That is a part of their grit and part of their genius to get to the storm faster and through it faster. I see that also with the approach that WAPA takes on many occasions, facing what we have to and oftentimes moving to get proactively ahead of it. We will continue to focus on the tough and important stuff, leveraging this proactive approach and our firm organizational foundations. So what is amongst our next first steps? Maintaining our focus on our core mission is chiefly amongst them, focusing on rate stability, reliable operations, our continuous focus on communication and transparency, and evolving our culture. Lots has changed, but our mission has not. Our people and the ones who will make our mission possible and supporting them through trying times and transition will remain our focus area as well. Staying safe, keeping each other safe is amongst our highest and continuing priorities. This will include embracing human performance and just culture and infusing that into who we are and what we do. Also, supporting each other with patience as we move through and towards challenges and solutions. And lastly, our focus continues to be on service. We are a resilient organization because we innately maintain our focus on a core foundation of ours, our service and our service to customers and our communities in which we live and work. We're going to have to call on our innovation to deal with some of these first, but as I've said, it's not the first time we have been called upon to face our challenges. The key question every leader often receives is what keeps you up at night. For me, and I don't know about you, existential 3 a.m. moments are no fun, but I know we're not the only ones facing this. I'm confident many of you are actively dealing with some of these same issues. So for me, my answer has been weather. In its many extreme forms recently, drought, wildfires, extreme weather events. We have all seen that extreme weather events have increased in frequency and intensity. That trend we know will continue. So securing the stability of our electric grid against extreme weather must be one of our highest priorities. Strengthening the grid is integral to keeping the lights on. For our customers, our nation just can't afford to add frequent grid outages to the growing list of the challenges that we face. One of my top priorities as administrator will be to further strengthen WAPA's position as one of our nation's most stable and resilient power providers and do what we can to improve rate stability amongst these difficult conditions. I truly believe in our steadfast mission to safely provide reliable, cost-based hydropower and transmission services. And in an era of severe weather, I believe our mission is more important than ever. Knock on wood, we were fortunate that wildfires did not damage many of our lines this year. As many of you know, that has not always been the case in the past, and we cannot rely on luck for the future. We are already resilient, but we need to maintain focus on these challenges. We have built a solid foundation to withstand the winds of change. This year, I and our COO, Kevin Howard, convened an internal WAPA-led wildfire management and integrated veg management summit to really get a status updates from across the enterprise, to share lessons learned, discuss new technologies and other matters. We are exploring new technologies and approaches to keep our systems safe. And now it's important to address the elephant in the room, and that is the enduring and severe drought across most of our territory. This dryness across the West is contributing to extreme long-term drought affecting so many of our projects. The river systems in our footprint have suffered too many bad years this century. Our Colorado River Storage Project, Boulder Canyon, Parker Davis, and Central Valley projects have been hit hard by 20 years of drought and an exceptionally bad water year this year. The Bureau of Reclamation announced that there is a 1 in 3 chance Glen Canyon Dam may be unable to produce hydropower as early as 2023. However, this prediction did not take into account any drought response operations, so we are keeping a super close eye on that. We also need good snowfall and snowpack for this winter and for several years, but the latest La Nina projections from NOAA are not inspiring confidence right now. We need to prepare for another bad year and hope we are wrong. In August, Reclamation declared an emergency water shortage on the Colorado River. Earlier this month, the agency released its 2- and 5-year projections, and expectations worsened. In CRISP, Lake Powell has only received 26% of its normal amount of inflow for the water year. The projected storage as a whole is at 39% of capacity, down from 49% at this time last year. In Desert Southwest, Lake Mead is at its lowest level since the reservoir was originally filled in the late 1930s. And in Sierra Nevada, the Central Valley Project is experiencing its driest water year since 1977. In the Upper Great Plains, Gavin's Point Dam will release minimum rates this winter due to drought. The runoff this year was 57% of average, making it one of its top 10 driest years since 1898. So Pig Sloan is expected to generate about 8.7 billion kilowatt hours this year compared to the long-term average of 9.5 billion kilowatt hours. This is UGP's first bad year in a long time, though the large reservoirs are thankfully doing their job and carrying us through. While we are watching this situation closely, it is not quite as dire as the situations in California or the Colorado River Basin. But we really want to be proactive and get ahead of doing what we can. Drought is not our only adverse condition affecting us. It is just the most publicized. Winter storms like Uri in February, wildfires, transmission and generation capacity constraints like last summer's energy emergency in California, and this summer's near emergency during the Boot Lake fire. All of these are creating also record-breaking energy market prices, just making it harder for us to continue to provide affordable hydropower and energy services. So we're coordinating with our customers, generating agencies, and other utilities to address these concerning issues. And I'll be frank, though, the availability of federal hydropower in the future, if things don't improve or get worse, may be in question at times, due to the drought, operational constraints, and the meeting our own needs when supplies are tight. These challenges highlight the need for more regional coordination and perhaps new ways of doing business in this dynamic energy frontier. So we need your continued innovation, support, ideas, wisdom, and your collaboration to address all of these together. And as you know, we are not sitting on our hands, though. We are continuing to think ahead and putting proactive strategies into place to ensure that we have options to market affordable power to our customers. For instance, just recently we have developed an internal working group to examine our previous responses to drought, to explore maximizing our existing authorities and flexibilities, and brainstorming new ideas to help WAPA and our customers mitigate the effect of drought and rising purchase power prices. That WAPA internal group has been scoping out issues to dive into more deeply. While those initial discussions are underway, and the ideas that will be shared and collaborated upon with customers. Much of what we're doing now is a history lesson of what occurred in 2004, looking back and getting everybody updated and on the same page. But in terms of our collaborative solutions, a good reminder today is that the Drought Adder and the Purchase Power and Wheeling Fund, or PPW Fund, are prime examples of what WAPA and customers can accomplish together with shared goals, with shared priorities, and focus on problem solving. WAPA is also engaging in conversations with customers and regenerating agency partners to discuss options for mitigating potential financial impacts. The Colorado River Storage System, Colorado River Storage Project is currently in a public process to revise its power rates to remove most of purchase power and wheeling, or PPW, expenses. The rate is intended to give customers additional flexibility Each customer would receive their proportion of the actual hydropower generated and will also request to receive additional firming energy, typically on a monthly pass-through cost basis. This rate, which is likely to result in an increase of up to 12 to 14%, is proposed to become effective this December 1st for a 2-year period, allowing for the improvement of water conditions and the development of additional mitigation strategy. More broadly, to keep our power customers informed, WAPA and Reclamation are meeting with our customers at least quarterly to discuss water and power operations updates, resource forecasts, and power marketing updates. One overarching goal is to identify a long-term structural update to our underfunded PPW authorities. As a reminder, PPW is our source of funds to purchase power when hydropower cannot meet contractual commitments. The authority to use receipts or purchase power and wheeling rather than appropriations was developed in concert with our customers, whose support was instrumental in obtaining that for approval in 2001. PPW funds are reimbursable and can only be used for incurred costs. If the PPW costs are repaid in full during the year they were used, no interest accrues, and the repayment term can be up to 10 years. We have a reserve balance for PPW, which makes funds available during unexpected contingencies, whether that is an enduring drought or an energy emergency brought on by adverse conditions. There are several benefits of PPW, including support for reliable power delivery during adverse energy markets and constrained hydropower generation conditions, enhance long-term capital repayment certainty by strengthening our ability to fulfill our contractual power delivery commitments, improve rate stability, and enable continuation of critical WAPA and generating agency capital projects that rely on other funding. Absent PPW revenues during periods of drought or other adverse conditions, the ability of the customers to advance additional funds for critical capital projects will be constrained by an immediate need to address the volatile PPW funding needs. Our PPW receipt authority is still capped in the annual appropriations language from Congress. They set limits on how much funding WAPA can collect for PPW reserves. In the past several years, WAPA has not received its full request for PPW receipt authority through the appropriations processes, which has slowly drawn down our reserve balances at a time when we need PPW more to respond to adverse conditions. Add in the strains of drought, extreme weather, and high purchase power costs, our PPW reserve funds are becoming more quickly depleted than we can replenish it. Although it is not our place to comment on proposed legislation, which may or may not be signed into law, I did want to talk about the proposed $500 million in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act recently passed by the Senate. That act and that provision seeks to close the gap between WAPA's request for PPW and what was actually authorized for PPW over the last 4 years, and cover the considerable expenses incurred by UGP during Winter Storm Uri. This funding would provide an immediate and much-needed boost to our purchase power reserve funding and buy us some time to identify and implement short-term and hopefully longer-term solutions to our constrained authorities and funding. So to be clear, it functions the same way as our existing authority. The difference is that the funds are initially coming from a different source, appropriations versus our traditional receipt authority. What is it not? It is not a drought relief measure. This is really a true-up for budget requests and authorizations over the past few years, as well as a response to an unparalleled severe weather event in our territory. But all that being said, we sincerely appreciate the education that many of you have done on the Hill and with the administration and with each other. to bring this issue to light and emphasize the need to move forward. We will keep you posted as this legislation progresses. Now, shifting to another focus area, safety is another pillar integral to securing our shared energy future. WAPA already has a mature safety culture, but there's always room to continuously improve. Providing a safe and healthful workplace is amongst our continuing priorities. And I'd like to highlight our WAPA field, dispatch, and key personnel as they continue to meet mission-critical needs to keep the lights on, despite the added challenges of working in the field and in our facilities during a pandemic. We have beat industry averages with respect to fiscal year 21 recordable incident rates and days away restricted rates. I really want to again express my sincere appreciation for all of those folks who still work 24/7, 365 as they continue to focus on our core mission. The challenge in any of these series of disruptions, though, and changing work environments like the last year and a half, is that people have so many things on their minds that they can get distracted. The hazards inherent in maintaining the bulk electric system haven't diminished while our potential distractions have grown. Our folks continue to do a great job, as I've said, and are staying safe and getting the work done. One of the recent developments within WAPA safety is our new Human Performance Improvement and Just Culture program. HPI is a system that focuses on process and procedures rather than blame. HPI focuses on systematically analyzing the organizational processes and values, job site conditions, employee behaviors, and leadership factors that lead to the error and finds productive approaches to correcting those contributing factors in the future. One of those factors can be culture. If folks fear retribution for simple mistakes or worry that they will be punished for reporting them, that does not result in a safe and efficient workplace. In fact, it is the opposite of a healthy safety culture. That's where just culture comes in. With a just culture, when an error or other incident occurs, employees and leadership are held accountable by focusing on systems and behavioral choices rather than the fact a mistake was made. Our goal is to include each organization throughout WAPA in the HPGC program, these acronyms, over time. And we are also building organizational resilience for the future with our WAPA Leadership Development Program. This relatively new program continued this year to cultivate leadership values, practices, and core competencies across our organization. We have committed to continue to develop and grow our employees to ensure that we have a future generation of leaders prepared to lead WAPA once the current leaders have moved on. And speaking of leadership, we also have made significant headway with the filling of key senior executive positions in the recent months. As many of you know, Lloyd Linke is now the permanent Senior Vice President and Upper Great Plains Regional Manager as of July of this year. In addition, we have onboarded our new Rocky Mountain Regional Manager, Bart Barnhart, who began in August. We've started interviews for a new TIP manager and in the hiring process for a Chief Strategy Officer. And last but not least, we have begun the process to search and recruit for my position that I recently left as Senior VP and Desert Southwest Regional Manager. In the interim, Jack Murray, our illustrious DSW Vice President of Maintenance and Transmission System Asset Management, will continue to serve as acting manager for a while longer. So thank you to Jack. I miss DSW, but I know it's in your good hands and in the hands of the entire DSW senior leadership team. And next, no update these days is complete without a COVID stance update. One of our toughest issues that we're dealing with right now is our transition from the COVID reaction stance to a planning for reentry stance. We're evaluating logistics and specifics of reentry, coordinating and aligning to the department and to the Office of Management and Budget. And we're also giving appropriate thought on how we can use what we have learned thus far. We're exploring the future of the workplace. We may nostalgically wish that everything will return to pre-COVID days, but the pandemic has left an indelible mark on us, personally, professionally, and culturally. The new workplace will not look exactly like the one we left. How we gather will be a transition unto itself. Hybrid meetings and work processes will get refined as we go. I've already started to talk about it and to manage expectations around our organizational culture and how we gather. And not necessarily lofty ideas. Frankly, I've been saying it's likely to be downright awkward. It is a first for the entire industry and for the government, the nation's largest employer. But rest assured, we are committed to providing you the same level of customer service that you experienced before. It just may look a little different. Our overall approach to workplace reentry is to strive for consistency and to do it as equitably as possible for the safety of our employees and to reduce confusion and missteps as much as possible. I understand that may be frustrating for some of you who have been fortunate enough to escape the worst of this pandemic. Our workforce is spread over some of the nation's largest cities to some of the most rural areas in the great American West. Although we can make regional decisions as much as possible, when it comes to employee safety, we really have to look at the enterprise. We cannot compromise on safety. There might be a time and there will be a time when we can relax our restrictions once this latest surge is over, but now, unfortunately, is not that time. Today, right now, we have a record number of employees with COVID-19, representing nearly every region, and so we will continue to follow the most restrictive guidance available and as we are required to do. As you've seen, visitors to our facilities will need to attest to their vaccination status. Once visitors are allowed into our facilities, we will go over all of these details more thoroughly. It is an evolving area of guidance and requirements, and we'll do our best to communicate all those as best as we can. Until then, we continue to read and incorporate the guidance we are receiving from the Safer Federal Workforce and the CDC. But last and certainly not least is our shared priorities, again, of service, collaboration, and of engagement. Our folks are feeling this across the entire enterprise. When the topic of customer outreach pops up in the conversation these days, it's usually the lament of not being able to meet in person, which I 100% agree with. A positive note worth sharing is that due to the shift to virtual, it has also allowed a sizable segment of our customer base to interact with us more easily. We have seen a record attendance at our customer meetings, like the annual customer meeting. So without travel, WAPA employees are attending more meetings with customers, but virtually. So there are some upsides that we want to learn from and incorporate as best we can and when it makes sense to do so. And it's worth reminding that although we are missing the face-to-face elements, we are only a phone call away, or a Teams meeting, or a WebEx, or a Zoom. In fact, even as interim administrator, I was able to meet with many of our customers and associations virtually. We have stayed engaged with regulators and with policymakers, and connections are happening at all levels of WAPA. Our regional operations and power marketing staff meet regularly with their partners at Reclamation and the Army Corps to seamlessly coordinate generation and transmission. And we have leveraged our virtual tools to seek out ways to improve and strengthen our relationships with our tribal government and tribal utility customers. This year, we have trained our folks on updated tribal consultations and partnered with the Department of Energy to address questions refer tribes to funding opportunities, and do what we can to support their tribal community needs as appropriate. One of the ways we'll systematically engage with all of our customers in the future is through collaboration on our upcoming organizational strategic planning efforts. So I just wanted to ask you to please stay tuned for that as we map out the process and timelines, and we'll be sharing that with you. We are transitioning now to a point when strategic and forward-thinking deliberations are timelier than ever, and we're ready. And we'll be looking for your engagement, your wisdom, your ideas, and your support while we deliberate strategies for our shared future. Given the challenges we face, striving for alignment with customers is critical, but is even more critical in building resilience for tomorrow. One outstanding recent example of that successful alignment that is possible through customer outreach and coordination is the Sierra Nevada Central Valley Project's customer operations and maintenance funding agreements. This agreement has helped insulate Sierra Nevada and Reclamation from declining appropriations and a reduced reliance on those appropriations. It also showcased the powerful partnership and collaboration between Sierra Nevada and its customers, involving customers in the prioritization process for projects, and stabilizing investment over several years, a cornerstone of our enduring success. Shifting gears to with respect to our engagements in Washington, D.C., I continue to meet with and educate new members of the administration and Congress about our critical role in the energy industry. Thanks in large part to our Washington Liaison Office and our active outreach, we have a lot of tangible support at the Department and in Congress, which has been the result of our collective and ongoing work. For instance, for the first time, what seems like a long time, there's no mention of selling the PMAs or moving to market-based rates in the appropriations bill. This is a testament to the considerable efforts that all of you have also made on our behalf, as well as our improved relationships in D.C. and on the Hill. We continue to meet with the administration to monitor the numerous infrastructure, resilience, and cyber-related legislation currently pending in Congress. Since all of this legislation is proposed, there's not much to say about it right now, but I did want to address a little bit on the programmatic side about the administration's renewed support on our transmission infrastructure program. In fact, we announced a clarification on our internal program roles and responsibilities for loan underwriting in a recent Federal Register notice. The clarification is essentially that we had previously announced some years ago our anticipation of leveraging the Department's Loan Program Office staff to assist on underwriting and other loan review functions. However, that has just never come to pass. We've determined that it would be best to keep those functions close and continue to do those functions ourselves and with external independent advisory, all of which is, as a reminder, 100% paid for by the applicants through advanced funding agreements. So as a recap, we thought we'd use the Department's Loan Program Office, but we never have. So it's really a clarification of our status quo. And as another recap, the program is actually over 10 years old now and continues to have a zero default rate. And lastly, as another reminder, TIP remains financially and operationally separate from WAPA's core mission. And finally, I wanted to provide an update on markets, which will remain a key focus to us to accommodate and succeed in the rapidly changing industry. Our interest in and resulting analyses on whether to join energy markets across our footprint, that continuously brings us into regular dialogue with customers, and we appreciate your participation, your questions, your support, and your continued sharing of your views to help us make aligned decisions. You know, ideally, markets are there to give us tools to draw upon resources from large geographic footprints, mitigating the concerns and risks around resource adequacy, improving regional transmission planning, and helping to contain costs for generation and transmission by using least cost resources first. Moving to energy imbalance markets was one of the main ways we will keep pace with conditions in the West. On September 15th, just a few weeks ago, DSW signed an implementation agreement with the California ISO to participate in the Western Energy Imbalance Market, or EIM, starting in 2023. Once completed, all WAPA's regions will be actively participating in the market. This decision was a result of nearly 2 years of analyses and collaboration with customers on how to best manage the real-time mismatch between supply and demand within the balancing authority footprint. Joining EIM will support DSW's ability to meet regulatory requirements for reliable operations, to enhance real-time trading opportunities, to provide efficient and affordable operations, and to address BA limitations and constraints due to the loss of bilateral trading partners to market constructs. The SPP Regional Transmission Organization, or RTO West effort, continues to progress on schedule. The SPP board approved the submitted terms and conditions for RTO expansion into the West, a major milestone for this effort. We continue to work with SPP on outstanding items, including cost allocation for the our DC ties, and provisions for federal participation. If this initiative continues to progress according to plans, we expect to publish a Federal Register notice about it, pursuing final negotiations with SPP in late 2021 or early 2022. As always, we commit to continue to be transparent with you as we pursue market opportunities in the West. And now we're going to wrap up and ensure we get some time for questions. But as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on YouTube channel within a couple of business days. As I've noted throughout this afternoon, WAPA and we collectively, we have many opportunities and challenges facing us. With our shared focus on stability, safety, and service, I believe we can all benefit from the growth and evolution that will be required of us to succeed in this rapidly evolving industry. As for my own approach to this position, I will share with you the same approach that I've shared with our employees. That is that I will strive to support your efforts, address barriers, keep the focus on the meaningful stuff, and remain transparent and honest even when the message might be difficult. I know our leadership across WAPA shares this approach as well. I've seen it over the years and every single day. And I'm available to, if you want to hear from you. So here's my contact information. It's in the presentation. And then one final quick note at the end. We've been continuously monitoring the continuing resolution closely. Regardless of, as a reminder, regardless of whether or not the CR is passed at midnight on October 1st, WAPA employees will all report to work as normal. This is possible thanks to the strong collaborative partnerships between customers and WAPA. Another prime example of what we can achieve working together collaboratively, honestly, and transparently to benefit all of us. So thank you for your participation today. And Melissa, do we have time for questions?
Yes, we do. We have a few minutes for questions. So if you have a question for Tracey, you can either put it in the chat window or use the raise your hand feature in WebEx, and I will call on you and unmute you. So I will pause for a few moments and see if we get any questions. Tracey, I am not seeing any questions right now, so just as a reminder, this will be posted on our YouTube site, and apologies for the slide snafu at the beginning. I was having some issues with PowerPoint advancing, so apologies for that. And you are getting some thank yous. All right, Tracey, I'm not seeing any hands or chat questions as of now.
Well, if anybody, if you think of a question later, please feel free to send it in and we'll respond. But appreciate everybody's setting some time aside today.
Great, thank you. We have a comment that they are looking forward to working with WAPA on drought mitigation efforts.
Great.
Okay, well, thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everybody. Look forward to working with you.